Well, a big good afternoon to all of you, and thank you all for joining us for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. I am particularly excited for this one. I've got to say, I know that I'm excited about everything because we get to highlight the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth here, but this program in particular is one I have been keen on for such a long time. Now, when I was your age as students, we got grade 2 to 8 today, I think, I loved wildlife. I got every book I could possibly get from the library about all the coolest, weirdest creatures on planet Earth. And one of them really stood out as being just the freakiest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and that was the lamprey. There's your sneak peek of what it looks like. So today we are going to dive with two amazing scientists to do a little bit of an exploration of some labs, highlight these cool creatures, some of the cool biology, how we study them, how we understand them more, and we might get to meet some of them live as well. So for those joining us for the first time, everything we do goes to our YouTube channel. You can check out this program in 3 weeks, 3 years. You can share it with your family and friends. And I want to do a special highlight too, that this is our entire month solely showcasing the most amazing women in science and exploration on planet Earth. I think by the end, we're going to have had 45 broadcasts, everything from James Webb Space Telescope, earthquakes, geology, sharks yesterday, so much to explore and discover. So a big thank you to all our amazing female scientists from around the world for joining us this month. It has been such a wild ride. Now, with that said, you're not here for me. I'm going to zip my lip, turn you over to Ann and Andrea. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here, and take us away. Let's do this thing. Hey.
Hey, everyone. I'm Ann Scott. I'm an assistant professor at Michigan State University and a visiting researcher here at Hammond Bay Biological Station. Joining me today is Andrea Miehls. Hi, everybody.
Oh.
So we're here on the shores of Lake Huron in northern Michigan at Hammond Bay Biological Station. It's a field station with the U.S. Geological Survey Great Lakes Science Center. And I have a question for you all. I'm just wondering if you've ever seen a creature that looks quite like this. Let's have a look.
I like how you've got a bucket of lampreys.
Check it out.
Look at it. It's so freaky and magnificent. I love it.
And here's the feature to check out. Can you see it?
Yeah, look at those weird teeth.
Excellent. So, like Jesse said, this is a sea lamprey. This is one of the most notorious invaders here in the Great Lakes. So let's go inside and learn more about this vampire fish of the Great Lakes. So like I mentioned, sea lamprey are an invasive parasitic fish in the Great Lakes. Do you know what the worst part about a sea lamprey is? Do you want me to give you a hint? Check it out. It's this. It's the mouth of a sea lamprey. So as you can see, it has this suction cup on the outside, and then on the inside, it has all these little teeth. And they use these teeth to then hold on to their host fish. And in the middle, there's this tongue that basically drills a hole into the side of the host fish so the lamprey can drink its blood.
I love it.
It looks something like this. So here's a picture of a lake trout with a real sea lamprey attached to it. The lamprey then leave these wounds on their host fish. Check it out. The shape of the mouth is right here. And in the middle, you can see where the tongue was able to make that hole to drink the blood. A single sea lamprey is capable of killing about 40 pounds of host fish. And at the time of when sea lamprey population was its highest, there was about 2.5 million sea lampreys swimming around here in the Great Lakes, killing then around 100 million pounds of host fish each year. The sea lamprey are native to the Atlantic Ocean, but then they invaded the Great Lakes in the mid-1800s and then continued spreading through the mid-1900s through the rest of the Great Lakes. When the sea lamprey invaded behind them, they left this wake of destruction. Some communities that relied on commercial fishing essentially closed up shop. These businesses couldn't continue to operate tourism when there's no fish to fish. So sea lamprey are one of the most notorious invaders here in the Great Lakes, but now they're part of one of the most successful sea lamprey control programs, one of the most successful invasive species control programs in the whole world. So let's dive deeper into the lab and learn a little bit more about sea lamprey. As we walk through here, you'll see that Hammond Bay Biological Station has a rich history in helping to develop some of the control tactics that are used for sea lamprey, even right now today.
As we're walking too, I'm going to bring up the Hammond Bay Biological Station on the chat for everyone on StreamYard and on YouTube so you guys can take a look. There's so much more on this that you can explore when you're done this broadcast with us today. It's a really, really special place in the world.
So as you guys can see as we walk through here, these are all historic photos of Hammond Bay Biological Station. And you can see these pictures show some of the important aspects of research in the sea lamprey control program. Now here, everyone, this is where our magic happens. It's not really magic, but this is where the science happens. This is our tank room where we house some of the sea lamprey. So let's go a little bit deeper and check them out. All right, so let's learn a little bit about the sea lamprey life cycle shown here on our poster. So we'll start with the adult sea lamprey. The adult sea lamprey, they migrate into the streams in the springtime here in the Great Lakes. And they build these unique horseshoe-shaped nests. You can see they're built out of rocks, and it's actually the sea lamprey using their mouths to move the rocks around into this shape. And then they spawn and they naturally die. They leave behind these fertilized eggs that look really tiny, like this. And then after about 2 weeks, they hatch out into these little larvae. They're pretty hard to see. They're tiny. These little lamprey larvae drip down into the sediment and they burrow into the soft substrate of the rivers. And then they live there for anywhere from 3 to 10 years. And at this time, they're just passively filter feeding on little microorganisms that exist in the water until they become about the size of a green bean. And then at that point, they emerge from the rivers, and then they undergo dramatic metamorphosis. So I'm wondering, what comes to mind when you think of a metamorphosis? You might not think of a lamprey. Maybe you think of like a monarch butterfly developing its wings. Yeah. But lamprey do indeed go through a metamorphosis. They're not developing wings, but instead they're developing their eyes. And most notably, they're developing that mouth. So then they reach this stage called the transformer. These transformers then emerge from the stream beds and they move out of the river system and they go into the lakes in the case of the Great Lakes region. And then they parasitize their hosts for about 12 to 18 months. This is the time that sea lamprey cause all their damage. That's when they're attaching to other host fish species and killing them. After then, they stop feeding on their hosts. They then return back to the streams as adults, and then the cycle continues. So I'm wondering, do you guys want to check out some live lamprey?
Yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. Let's do it.
Excellent. Let's go. All right, so we're going to start by having a quick look here at some of the larvae. So if you remember, the larvae are the ones that are burrowed into the river system, and they stay there from anywhere from 3 to 10 years.
Oh, he's so cute. I love him.
Can you see him?
Yeah.
He looks like a little worm in here.
Yeah. Look at that guy.
So after they consume enough food and they become that green bean size, they then become transformers. So as you can see, these ones, they have their suction cup mouth and they're attached to the tank here. So let's have a little bit closer look at one of these guys.
Those ones are a lot more wiggly.
Excellent. Yes, they are. Check them out here. So you can see they have their big beady eyes and they have their gills. And then you can see, there it is, their mouth. And it can attach on then to the side of the host fish.
How cool is that? So many of them in that tank too, which is really interesting.
Yeah, they can all hang out together in here. We have 43 of them living in this tank right now. And then after this transformer life stage, they become parasites. So the parasites are these ones located down here. So you can see they're pretty large because these are parasites that were caught on host fish like lake trout here in the Great Lakes. So they've already been out in the Great Lakes feeding on their meals. After this life stage, now we get to the adults. Check it out. Here's our adult lamprey. This one here is a male sea lamprey. It has a little bit of a ridge on its back. That's what we can use to help tell a male from a female. And so the sea lamprey, they have the really unique mouth. And they can use this mouth to essentially attach to anything. Let's check it out.
What's its mouth going to attach to, Anne? Oh my goodness. Cool. Look at that.
So look, it's got like a suction cup, essentially. It can just hang on to a surface. It can attach even really well to our tank lids here. See? It's squirming around, but it'll stay attached. It'll even, let's see, attach to my hands. See? But just because it's attaching doesn't mean that it's actually feeding. It's just that suction cup that's holding on. So sea lamprey, they won't actually feed off me. They only feed on cold-blooded fish. So we don't need to have any concerns about sea lamprey coming to attack us, just other fish. All right, let's return this one back to the tank, and then we can move on.
I just want to stress that that's the first time in our history we've ever had someone put an animal with teeth on themselves in the middle of a broadcast. So thank you for that. Out of 4,000 shows history, that was pretty rocking.
So now that we've thought a little bit about the sea lamprey life cycle here, if you were a researcher here at the biological station and it was your task to then control them, think about what life stage would you target? Come along.
As we're exploring this, I just want to say we've had the chance to tour a lot of labs in our history, and this is like the most sciencey looking lab ever. Like, you guys are just hitting all the bases. We got big vats, we got cool fridges, we got all sorts of test tube stuff going on. This totally rocks.
Excellent. Well, it is a real deal working lab. So, scientists are here all the time carrying out experiments. So that's why we have to have all these things here for work. So did you guys think about it? Of what life stage would you try to target for the sea lamprey? Would you target the little ones, the larvae? Would you try to target the adults?
Yep. So our big answer is the burrow. Like, when they're in the sand, maybe you could dredge that up. Maybe you could sort of plow it, do something with them there. Is that true, or what's the deal?
Yeah, well, actually, the sea lamprey control program that's coordinated by Great Lakes Fishery Commission targets 2 life stages. They target both the larvae, those little ones that are burrowed in the substrate, and the adults. And so they have different approaches to target them. So the larval phase is targeted with lampricides. So this is a selective compound that then is a liquid that's applied to the river system here. So then it kills the sea lamprey present in the river, those little larvae burrowed into the substrate, but then it doesn't harm other organisms. And so this selectivity is really key, because the goal of this program is to kill the sea lamprey, but not harm other organisms. We're trying to restore the other populations and have a healthy ecosystem. And so this compound, the lampricide, it's called TFM. And actually, back in the 1950s here at Hammond Bay Biological Station, they tested over 6,500 compounds to find this one. This is the lampricide compound that they found to be effective at killing lamprey, but with having little to no harm on other organisms. And this is the same compound that's used today. So pretty impressive.
Sorry, I just want to highlight again. It's a killer liquid in a yellow, like a killer yellow liquid in a cool vial. Like, you're killing it. This is so much fun. I love it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's highlighter yellow. It really stands out. Even when we apply it to the river system, you can see it present there. And so Hammond Bay Biological Station played a really important role historically with the control program, but they continue to do that today. So in this room that we're currently in, this bioassay room, they continue to do experiments to essentially make sure that that lampricide is effective every single year at being able to kill lamprey but not harm other organisms. So this continues to be an important place for sea lamprey control program. So remember, I said that the sea lamprey control program also targets the adult life stage, and that's done through barriers. And so barriers essentially prevent the adults from going further upstream, accessing more habitat. So some of the barriers are purpose-built, like this one here. So this was intentionally built to be able to block sea lamprey. But then there's other barriers like this one up here. So this is a dam present on a river that wasn't built specifically to block sea lamprey. It was built for other reasons, but it also does help to block sea lamprey. So there's a variety of these barriers that exist in a network across the Great Lakes, and they essentially are preventing the adults from infesting hundreds of miles of river system further upstream. So it keeps them contained to a smaller stretch So then the lampricide can be applied to a smaller stretch of the river. So essentially, it's a cost savings measure here. The other method that's used are traps. And sea lamprey traps also target the adult life stage. They essentially are brought into the, as the lamprey are coming into the rivers, they're trapped in here and removed before they have the opportunity to spawn. And so you can see some traps can really catch a lot of lamprey. We use traps primarily for assessment purposes, so it gives us an indication. Is the sea lamprey population going up or is it going down? The sea lamprey control program has been really effective, highly effective, and it's been ongoing for the last 60 years. And throughout these efforts, the population has been reduced by over 90%. And so that's really great, but we always want to do better. So as researchers, we're thinking about how can we improve the existing control measures, or what additional tactics can we use to control them? So let's take a look in the lab. All right, let's do a brief recap on our lamprey anatomy. We have the mouth. We have its eyes. And then on the side here, these little holes, these are their gill pores. So on the inside are the gills, and they use these to breathe. And then on the top of the lamprey head, right here, if you look really closely, it's the nose. It almost looks like a little blowhole on the top of its head.
Cool.
Underneath that little nares, so we have two nostrils, but the lamprey, it just has a single one. And underneath it is where its nose lies. And that nose, it's 2 times the size of its brain. You might be wondering, why does it have such a big nose? But that's because smells play such an important role in the life of a sea lamprey. So sea lamprey essentially use odors to be able to communicate with one another. Let's take a look at what I mean by that. So remember, sea lamprey are attached to their host fish when they're out in the lakes. But then they start migrating back into the streams, primarily at nighttime when they're adults. And they enter streams that have larval sea lamprey. And that's because these larval sea lamprey are releasing odors that the adults like the way it smells. It essentially tells them that there's good habitat here. So the adult lamprey continues swimming upstream, and then those males start building their horseshoe-shaped nest out of rocks. And then the male lamprey begin releasing attractive odors that bring in the females. And so researchers for the past 30 years or so have been trying to figure out, how can we target this sea lamprey sense of smell? If we think about a mouse trap, what do we bait it with? Maybe use cheese, maybe peanut butter. But for lamprey traps, we bait them with these odors. So it looks like this here, where we're actually able to apply that attractive male odor to try to bring more lamprey into the sea lamprey trap. The goal of some of my research is focused on essentially when we know that the females are detecting these attractive compounds that the males are releasing, how can we come in and stop it? So how do we do this? Essentially, you can imagine the males are giving off this attractive perfume odor, right? And the females are there in the river, and we're applying these compounds called antagonists
So the female is nose plugged. She's sniffing around. Where's the male at? And she can't smell him. So essentially, she gives up and she leaves. And so then we're blocking the females from being able to smell that attractive perfume odor that the males are releasing. The females are unable to find them, and then they don't spawn. So in addition to all of these efforts, what does this actually look like out in the river system? So I use some specialized tags to be able to track sea lamprey when I'm applying these odors and these odor neutralizers to the water. We use some colorful tags like these on their dorsal fins so we can visually see them swimming in the river. And then we use these specialized tags on their back called passive integrated transponder tags to track their movement. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm applying the male perfume and trying to nose plug the females and then tracking their movements in the rivers to understand if they're no longer able to smell that male perfume. So all of these efforts are really focused on trying to identify additional sea lamprey control tactics. And like I mentioned, there is a really successful program that's ongoing, but I'm always looking for more ways to try to make it better. And all the work that we do here is to help protect our Great Lakes fisheries. And this work really wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for teamwork. The team includes so many folks. It includes the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Departments Fisheries Oceans Canada, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. All these folks have been able to help knock down the sea lamprey population by over 90%. It also relies on researchers like myself and others at universities, but folks also here at Hammond Bay Biological Station to try to find new ways that we can control their population and learn more about sea lamprey biology and how we can target them. This work is all overseen and coordinated by Great Lakes Fishery Commission. So really, we had a big problem here in the Great Lakes, the sea lamprey. But when we came together with this collective goal to try to target them, we're really able to achieve great things and reduce their population. So my main message is, when we put our minds together and we work together, we can achieve great things here. So in my opinion, this teamwork is really important in helping to keep our Great Lakes looking, well, great.
This was so much fun. Thank you two so much for the deep dive. We've already got so many questions on YouTube. We're going to head to all our live classes, so put on your thinking caps for a second. And Andrea, what a thrill. Honestly, professional detachment out the window. I absolutely adored this. All right. We'll start with Mrs. Connor's class. They're joining us at the Columbia River in Oregon. They want to know the lamprey that they've seen there in the northwestern United States. Would that be the same species? Would it be a different species? Do you know if there's a difference? And can you speak to it generally?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we spent a lot of time here today talking about sea lamprey, but out in the Pacific Northwest, there's Pacific lamprey, and those lamprey are native to that region. And they live out in the Pacific Ocean, and then they come into the river system, just like sea lamprey as adults, to be able to spawn. Even here within the Great Lakes, we have other lamprey species besides just the sea lamprey. So it is important to recognize that there are more lamprey species out there, even though we're focused on trying to target this notorious invader.
Yes. Sweet. Thanks for the answer, man. We've got Katie in Nicaragua, and this answer was sort of given by the fact that you put one on you, but do they have a kind of venom if they bite a human? Is there any effect at all? What happens?
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, sea lamprey don't have any venom, but it feels a little bit like a pinch. So you notice that they're there, but they don't draw any blood.
The one interesting thing about sea lamprey is when they're attached to their host fish and they're drinking the blood, they actually secrete a special compound in their saliva that actually helps keep that blood a liquid so it doesn't clot up. It's kind of like how leeches keep that blood flowing.
Vampire bat, same deal, like an anticoagulant to make it as liquidy as possible is a really common feature of things that suck blood, but I'm really glad you are blood suck free, even though you put one on you during the broadcast. All right, Ms. Balo, come on in, unmute your mic, and take us away with our first question. Hey, guys. Hello, Science Warriors. Great name. I love it. Hey.
Go ahead, Mew.
What is sea lamprey's prey? Any type of fish.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're still learning more about that. We think that their preferred fish species to eat is a lake trout, but there's so many other species here in the Great Lakes that have sea lamprey marks on them. We've seen them on fish species like lake whitefish, cisco, walleye, even sucker species. So it seems like they like lake trout, but they'll eat a lot of different fish species.
I'm like the lamprey. Lake trout are one of my favorite fish to eat personally, so I understand where they're coming from. We're going to head to our Kingsley sixth graders. Come on in, unmute your mic, and take us away. Hey, guys.
My question is, what do you feed your lamprey when they're in captivity?
Yes. Cool question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, most of these life stages that we have, like the adults, they've ceased feeding. So we don't have to feed them here anymore within the lab. For the larvae, we have a really specialized diet that we feed them. It's mostly of yeast that is just sprinkled into their tanks, and then they're able to eat.
Of all the things you were going to say, yeast was dead last on my list of expected things. So thank you for throwing me off on that. Great question, guys. All right, we're heading to Carsonville. Mrs. Fisher's class, we're coming to you. Come on in. Take us away. Hey.
Remember you were asked, does it hurt or does it make a mark?
Does it hurt?
Does it hurt when they bite you?
Well, it feels a little bit like a pinch, so you know that they're there, but it doesn't really hurt too much. You just have to be careful when you're taking them off and release their suction, and then they pop right off.
I remember when I was a boy, I used to dart into the woods to grab any snake that I heard because I lived in Canada and nothing's going to really do any damage to me. And most snake bites are just like a sucking feeling. Like there's not actual any teeth marks. There's no blood. I did make a mistake once and had a little bit of blood, but by and large, with our lamprey, we're certainly good. Great question, guys. All right, North Topsail Beach. Lavi, come on in. Take us away. Hey.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Great. Happy to have you guys join.
Yay. So I was wondering, how do the sea lampreys tell if a fish is cold-blooded?
Oh, that's a great question. So actually, all fish are cold-blooded. So essentially, they are the same temperature as their environment.
I'm trying to think, and it's a different mechanism than it would be in people, just for interest's sake. Things like big sharks, so great white sharks can modulate their temperature a little bit to be a little bit warmer than surrounding water, which is really cool. Not related to today at all. We haven't had a cold-blooded fish question in a very long time, so thank you for that as well. We're going to head to YouTube for a couple, and then we're going to do a whole other round with everyone because Anne's whipping through these. Elena wants to know why you want to get rid of them. Is it population control, improve populations of host fish? Is there like a end game for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Andrea, you want to dive in and share some thoughts?
You bet. So I'm Andrea Miehls. I work with the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. So why do we want to control sea lamprey? It comes back to, well, what Anne showed you earlier with the mouth of the sea lamprey and all that harm that they cause to fish. Each sea lamprey will kill up to 40 pounds of fish during its life. And before we can control them, there were 2.5 million sea lampreys in the Great Lakes, killing 100 million pounds of fish each year. They've been highly destructive to fisheries. And when sea lamprey hurt fish, that hurts people too, because many people rely on fishing for their job, and many people rely on eating fish as well. And so the damage to sea lamprey has gone well beyond just fishing the Great Lakes. They've harmed people too in many ways. And we feel it's our responsibility to remedy that by controlling sea lamprey.
Sweet. That's a perfect answer. Geez, and some really big stats. That's a lot of fish that they take. Holy. We got a great follow-up question on this. So we did a program the other day where there was an invasive fish and we are catching them to cook them and eat them. And that's a great way to get rid of them and also help people at the same time. Can we eat lamprey in any way or no?
Oh, that's a great question. So actually, no, we cannot eat lamprey. They have chemicals in them that are toxic to us. So essentially, we'd get really sick if we were to eat sea lamprey. But historically, they were important in parts of Europe. And so a special lamprey pie was made a few years back in 2015 for the Queen of England.
Amazing.
Because back then, they used to like to eat sea lamprey. And so this was made in commemoration of that.
So quick follow-up on this. Like if they were able to make a pie for the queen and it wasn't going to, be damaging to her. So is it eating too much of them that's the thing that causes it to be like a toxic thing for people? Or is it a different kind of lamprey or what's the deal?
Right. It's if you eat too much of it. So really, we discourage people from eating them because they do have those toxic chemicals in them. So it was made for the queen more so for show. She didn't actually eat the pie.
One pie for show in your life. That's our only way. Lots of other things we can do as we discussed today. Classes, we're coming back for a whole other round. We got 8 more minutes together. So Mrs. Balo, come on in and take us away. Hey. Hi, guys. Unmute. There we are. Sweet.
How many teeth do they grow?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a great question. So sea lamprey have around over 100 teeth, around 150 of them in here. So each of these little sharp barbs, those are one of their teeth. So if you start counting them up, you should get over 100.
Sweet. Well, we'll leave that when we bring that picture up. You can watch the recording later and do your own counting. That's a cool question. We had that for sharks the other day too. I love the tooth questions. Kingsley 6th graders, we're heading to you guys. Come on in and unmute. Go for it. Hey.
I have been waiting here the whole time, but so basically what I gotta say is, are there some future methods you plan on using? And also, do they only lay their eggs in streams? And if they do, couldn't you just block it off?
Sweet. Oh,
Are you sorry? Can you repeat that one just a little bit louder?
Oh, sorry, but
that's okay.
so basically, what are some future methods of killing sea lamprey that you think might work?
Yep. And then, and so for their eggs in the stream, can we just not block off the stream or do something with the eggs to get rid of them too? Yes? Sweet.
Yeah. So that's a great question. We're always interested in trying to identify new ways that we can control sea lamprey. And one of the things we're always thinking about are like, what are the unique features or characteristics of sea lamprey that we can try to target? So that's where like my research comes into play, trying to target their really powerful sense of smell and these unique odors that they use to communicate with one another that aren't detected by other species. Then for your second question about, if they're coming into the streams to spawn, could we just block off those streams? Well, the barriers do help to reduce access to some stretches of the river. Remember, these barriers essentially are containing the sea lamprey to just certain stretches downstream. So we are working on doing that, but barriers can block the migration of other fish species too. Some can jump over these low barriers, but other fish species can't. So we can't just put in barriers everywhere because we want to help restore our native fish populations, but keep lamprey out. So we're trying to find a balance here.
Yep. It's a great answer. And I want to stress, like for all our classes, we've held a lot of invasive species programs before here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And the chemical thing is so unique. I've never heard anything like that. I've been studying biology for years. It's such a cool technique. And kudos to you guys for pioneering it and doing some really, really cool stuff. Thanks for the question, guys. All right, Mrs. Fisher's class, we're heading to you. We'll wrap up with Levi in a minute. And I've got a secret one in the middle from myself because I'm just really curious. But Carsonville, come on in. Take us away. Hey, Mrs. Fisher.
Our lamprey's cold-blooded.
Are lampreys cold-blooded?
And will they eat
Nice.
each other?
Or will they eat each other? Or will they eat each other?
Ooh, are they cannibals and are they cold-blooded?
Yeah, so lamprey are cold-blooded as well, but no, we don't see them eating one another. They like to attach, to all surfaces like we saw. They'll attach to the side of the tanks. The fish even attach to my hand, but they may attach to another lamprey when they're in a tank, but they're not going to be sucking their blood. They don't have enough blood in them. They don't make for a good meal.
It's really interesting. I don't know why cannibalism's come up in a few broadcasts this week, but that's quite unusual. Like most things will eat compatriots of theirs. And also compatriots, a word I've never used in a broadcast that just snuck in there somehow. Cool question, guys. All right. My query before we wrap up in North Topsail Beach is you talked about them coming in from the ocean and ending up in the Great Lakes. Now, our kids don't have the context for this, but it's really unusual for something that lives in salt water to be able to live in freshwater. Is this true of all lampreys? It's a fairly unique adaptation. So I'm just curious. I don't know if that's always been the case or if we know that from other species. What's the deal?
Yeah, you're right. It is a pretty unique feature. So lamprey and a couple other fish species have the ability that's called to osmoregulate. So that means that they can essentially go from areas of salt water in the ocean, but then they can come into freshwater and they can survive in both these environments. So it is a pretty unique adaptation. Normally, species can live in just the saltwater or just the freshwater. But the lamprey, since it was from the Atlantic Ocean originally and spends part of its time out in that ocean environment, but comes then into the river systems that are freshwater to spawn, they have this ability to be able to survive in both types of environment.
Super, super cool. Bull sharks famously are a great example of a really big creature that can do that, which is also super unusual. So I can't stress enough. Osmoregulation, really, really rare in the animal kingdom. Glad we got a chance to cover that. All right, Levi, I'm going to come to you for one final one. And then, folks, stick around so we can say a big thank you and farewell. It's been such a thrill having you all here today. But North Topsail Beach, wrap us up with one final question.
Hi! So I was also wondering, that was really crazy how they can attach to all surfaces. But if they were to encounter sharks, would they be able to attach to them because they have their what is it called again? Their denticles.
Yeah, the dermal denticles on shark skin. Cool question. Thanks, Levi.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, they have found sea lamprey marks on shark species, especially, in their native range out in the Atlantic Ocean. So certainly seems like sea lamprey can attach to other marine species, including sharks.
Yeah. When we get into the nitty gritty of things in the ocean sucking on and parasitizing each other, it's basically endless. There's some of the freakiest things in the world are parasites in the sea. So I can't encourage you to check them out enough. They're super cool. And Andrea, is there any final message you want to leave us with before we bring in all our kids to say a big thank you and farewell? We've passed along the Hammond Bay station for everybody, so you can check that out. We're going to send a big email to everyone with all sorts of cool resources. But any final message today?
Andrea, you want to end on something great for us?
Well, I'm going to say what's really great is everyone who's out there who's very engaged and curious to learn about sea lamprey and is interested in science. And thank you to everyone who helped coordinate this event today. It's been really excellent talking with you all. If sea lamprey have piqued your interest, we encourage you to follow the Great Lakes Fishery Commission on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter as well as Instagram. We also have, if you're really curious too to learn more about sea lamprey, we have some great episodes that we've done with the Brave Wilderness channel as well, which has been pretty neat. But we really just love all of your curiosity and your questions, and thanks for your interest in what we do.
You guys are amazing. I'm going to pass along the Great Lakes Fishery Commission and the Brave Wilderness episodes to all our classes. So you can stay tuned for those in an email in a minute. You two totally rock. Please do stick around when we're done, but I'm going to bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. Mrs. Fisher, Lavi,
Thank you.